As she said, my name is Baroness Chernaig. I'm from the Barony of Windhaven in the Kingdom of Ansteorra. Today I'm going to be going over woven insignia and the current Kingdom of Ansteorra grant level awards that use woven insignia. For those of you who are out of Kingdom, there might be some information that transfers over as far as technique and some of the resources, but I don't have information on other kingdoms' insignias. I would love to have it though. It would be really neat to make it an interkingdom handout to share patterns across. I will be posting this handout on the event Facebook page afterwards. If anybody wants access to the patterns or the links, feel free to use them. And I'll be uploading it just after this class ends. The first award I want to talk about is the Order of the Star of Merit. This is the Service Path Grant Level Award. I have here the pattern and the badge for it that I pulled from the Ansteorran Heraldic website. This is also what it looks like. It is usually roughly 1 inch wide and vary in lengths dependent upon the person who you're making it for. I've learned that 20 inches long is a good estimate for if you don't know if you're just donating them to the kingdom. Most people wear them as a garter on their dominant arm. However, some people wear them pinned to other awards like this. There is also an embroidered black star on the end, if you can see that. I personally do not do embroidery when I weave insignia for the kingdom because I'm not good at it. But if you are also not good at it, there are a lot of artists who are good at embroidery who would be willing to take the insignia that's already woven and add the black stars to it. And most of the time those people don't weave, so it's a nice, easy trade-off. And then the kingdom gets more insignia. And here is the Iris of Merit. This is the Arts Path Grant Level Award. It is 6 colors, and they are supposed to be in that order according to the award text. That orange looks a little brown now that I'm seeing it full screen. Sorry about that. It's definitely supposed to be orange. The black in between the colors is not required. I personally prefer it to be there for distinction, but that's not a requirement. I have one here that somebody else wove that does not belong to me. I'm going to be finishing it for donation to the kingdom to make the ends pretty and whatnot. But there's what one of those looks like already woven. Once again, it's worn much the same way as the Star of Merit is, and that is the pattern for it. The Order of the Centurions. Most of the time, people will recognize the Centurions by their giant cloak, which is gorgeous. However, they also do have a garter for their insignia. And most of them also wear that, it's just not as flashy. And sometimes if they cannot wear the cloak because it doesn't match with whatever garb they're wearing, they will be seen wearing the garter at a minimum. And that is the red and gold with a black star on it. This is one that does not have a black stars on it yet because I will be ringing it up and finishing it soon. Hopefully soon. I recommend making those a little bit longer than I do the other awards because, well, fighters work out and they use their arms an awful lot. So they're a bit more muscular than some of the rest of us. The Order of the Arc d'Or is the award for missile combat, or missile weapons at the grant level. It includes siege, archery, both combat and target, thrown weapons. I don't actually have one of those physically to show you, but there is a pattern for it, and it is also worn as a garter. They also wear bracers that are white and have a black star on them, and those are a little bit more obvious and easier to distinguish, but this is what the woven looks like. The Order of the Golden Lance is an equestrian award. I also do not have any of those currently in my possession to show you. The embroidery on these is a lance, and once again, that is not something I personally would attempt to do because I'm not skilled in embroidery. However, if you cannot find an embroiderer who is willing to do it, the Kingdom Insignia Deputy usually has people that they can contact to do that. So do not let him not being able to embroider stop you from contributing to the kingdom. The Blade of Merit is our newest grant level award. This is for rapier or cut and thrust combat. And the badge for it shows a blade on it. However, it does not have embroidery. It looks like this. I just wove up a couple yards of this for the last time I taught this class, because I realized that a lot of people hadn't seen it yet, because I think we probably only have, I'm not positive on this, but I want to say around 10 Blade of Merit holders right now. Okay, that's it for the Blade of Merit and resources. These are links to where you can find out with the Kingdom Insignia inventory. It will show, actually, I will just pull it up. It will show this list of how many the kingdom has of what awards for their insignia, so you can figure out what the kingdom needs before you donate something. I know that the braided insignia right now that they have for the falcon, the sparrow, and I want to say the floor is the arts one. I know they have an awful lot of those right now, but this is where that list would ordinarily be. The list does exist right now. The link does work. However, I've spoken to the Kingdom Insignia Deputy, and it is not accurate at the moment. There have been some difficulties updating it with the world as it is right now. However, I do know that she did say we do definitely need more Stars of Merit for the kingdom. They have been working on pass downs recently instead of being able to hand people new awards or new insignia. And here is the link to the College of Heralds list of awards and their insignia for anything that is not woven, if you wanted to see what the insignia looked like as it was registered. Golden Bra, it was the flora, I was right. Good. I don't know how they are doing on Queen's Rapiers, King's Archers, and Golden Bridles. But she did say the braided awards they had a significant number of, so I'm assuming that they're probably full on those. Most of these other ones are medallions. The Lions, the Order of the Rose, those are not going to be woven. But this shows you what all of their badges look like. Oh, it also shows the Armistice awards for the baronies. Most of the time, those are service orders. And this last one is useful for any kind of weaving. It is a pattern generator that's really neat. This is what I use to make all of those patterns. You can start off with saying you want to use 50 threads, and then you can that, and it'll show your pattern here. So it makes it really easy to share patterns that way. I did list these for card weaving as far as how many threads would be used. I said cards and not threads, simply because I think card woven insignia is a little bit beefier and it lasts a little bit longer, but you can definitely do it in Inkle. Card weaving also, though, gives you a little bit of room for personalization. The awards, I'm going to go ahead and stop screen sharing so I can show some things. The awards are listed as a certain pattern in the Kingdom Charter. However, there is a little bit of leeway for personalization and creativity in making insignia, especially if you are making it for an individual and not straight for donation. You will see things like, I'm not sure how well you can tell, but on my Star of Merit, there is a card woven in diamond pattern with kind of a glittery thread that's not obvious from this distance, but up close you can see that it's sparkly and, oh, that's better, diamond shaped. And in this iris, there's a little bit of a wave to it. And I've seen other ones that have like diamonds in pickup on them, or different embroidery at the bottom based upon the person's personal heraldry. I've seen irises that I believe Baroness Bronislava called it her death metal iris. It was mostly black, but it did have the colors coming up from underneath so that you could tell what it was, but it didn't stand out as bright and flashy because she never really wore loud colors. I've also seen some people do monochrome decoration on theirs, where they have a slightly different shade of whatever the center color is, and they do designs or sometimes even text inside of it. The text is really popular among the fancier for court garb Centurion garters. I've seen people with their motto woven into it. I've seen people with a quote from something very personal to them woven into it, and those things are really beautiful. There's also, sometimes you will see people who have multiple these woven awards who will weave them together. So they'll set them up one right next to each other, and then they'll weave them as one band, and then at a certain point at the end, they will separate their heddle string, or I mean their, not heddle, their weft string, and into two, so that it splits off into two separate bands at the tail and gives the appearance that they are wearing both at the same time when really they are wearing one band. And that's really clean and neat looking, and also makes it a little bit easier on them personally to not have to find everything. There are also baronies that have woven insignia. My barony has our entry-level service, our anonymous service award that is woven. It is the Flint Steel. It looks like this. This one was done with Inkle. Namron, I know, does braided ribbon for their awards. I'm not super familiar with the other baronies awards, so I don't know if they do or not, but if there is any barony who does and once the pattern made and published, I'd be willing to do that and add it to this handout. There is a earlier version of this handout that is currently on the Scribble website for anyone who wants to make insignia to donate to the kingdom. So I would be willing to add it to that so that it's there for anybody to be able to find easy access to. If you do make insignia and you want to donate to the kingdom, the person you contact is, all right, let me find that link again. It's the Sable Scribe, but they usually have a deputy who is in charge of insignia. I had thought that their email account was on the Insignia website, but evidently it is not right now. I will get that and I will put it on the website though, or on the handout. Does anyone have any questions?
What weight of yarn or thread do you use? Like crochet cotton 10 or something heavier?
I usually use size 10 crochet cotton unless I am doing something really detailed. If I need it to be thin and I want it more detailed and prettier, I will pull out size 20. I've never tried to mess with anything smaller than 20 though. I've seen people use 5 just so they can use less threads, but I personally just think it's a little bit too bulky. I also prefer personally to get my string from, or my stuff from, and now I'm blanking on the name of it. Hold on just a moment. Lunatic Fringe yarn is where I get mine, especially for the iris. They have a collection of colors that are just really vivid, and that helps with that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a type of Inkle loom that you find is like easier to use for this type of weaving, or is it just any general one that?
Any loom should work. I have a personal preference because I do both card and inkle weaving. I like the looms that can transfer back and forth. Get mine for you. This is my inkle loom right now. It is set up for card weaving. So what I've done is I've taken the vertical bar that has the string or the pegs you would use for your heddle strings in inkle weaving, and I've spun it around and screwed it back on so I don't lose it, but that way it's out of the way of my cards. But this is one that my husband made because I'm picky and he's good at woodworking. So I don't know where to tell you to find one like it, unfortunately. But if you're looking for a loom and you're not really sure what you're looking for, the main things that I would suggest would be to look for a hardwood, because this peg right here will break if you are not using a hardwood. Eventually, over time, you can't really see it in the camera, but mine is bent. Tension happens right there on this peg, and eventually it's going to snap off and I'm going to need a new loom. But if you're using a hardwood, that happens less often. I would also look at these pegs down here that are used for putting on the length. If your finger cannot go in between them, you're going to have a hard time warping your loom, and it's going to make it less fun, but it's still usable. Those are the important things, of my opinion. But different things work for different people. I've seen some people who hate using looms at all, and they prefer to do it with their with their warp tied to a doorknob or a tent pole and the other end tied to their belt, and they weave it just in front of them the whole time. I don't know how they do it. I think that's sorcery, but it's magical and it's great. But personally, I have a small child. I would need to get up every 5 minutes. And when you're literally tied to your weaving, you cannot chase a child. It doesn't end well for the weaving or you or the child. But I mean, different things work for different people. Baroness Annabelle from Namron swears by PVC looms, and she'll make a PVC loom for 10, 15 bucks, use it for 3 projects and throw it away and make a new one. They don't last very long because, once again, the tension will just warp that PVC, it will curve, but she's always trying a different structure. Yes, Abeda?
I've just had a request from outside the classroom for a copy of your handout from someone who desperately wanted to be here but was not able to make it. Would you be willing to share your handout in the chat or via email, and I can make sure that they get it?
Yes, let me go ahead and put it in the chat right now while I'm thinking about it. Like I said, I do plan on putting it on the event site afterwards, but just to make sure. Anyone with link can view. There we go. Thank you. Windhaven Accordion, Windhaven Fiber. I have not tried their stuff, so I cannot comment on that. I don't know how to say that word. I've only ever seen it written. The Inkle Looms. I'm gonna assume that's how you say it. I could be very wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, I was right. Cool. I've heard good things about those. Like I said, though, my husband makes my looms. He is very talented. So I don't really buy looms because he gets grouchy at me for buying expensive things that he can possibly make, even if it's going to take him 3 years to make it. But I mean, like, they're gorgeous looms, and I hear good things about them online. There are a lot of weaving Facebook groups. There's the, let me see if I can pull it up. There's a historical card weaving Facebook group. There's an Inkle weaving pattern sharing Facebook group. There's an SCA historical card weaving and an SCA Inkle weaving Facebook group. Like, there's a whole bunch of them where people share theories on how to build patterns, or they share patterns, or they talk about which books they like the most, or they're thinking about getting a new loom. What do y'all think of this design? And just those free-flowing communication type that are really good. Ansteorra also has a Weaving Guild Facebook group as well that's really good for stuff like that. My headpiece, this is my baronial coronet, and what I'm wearing underneath of it is a St. Brigidda's cap. They're mostly for 14th century garb. This is what the Barony's coronet looks like. It's gorgeous. It was made by Her Excellency Kat McLaughlin long before I started playing, so I don't know when, but I have the honor of being allowed to wear it for a while, I hope, until I need to step down as Baroness. And the hat is got some embroidery here, and it ties in the back, and it just mostly covers my hair and keeps it from getting oils on the Barony's property. a lot of people wear scarves under them or veils or something other than that, but those personally, I don't like them because they kind of move in your peripherals, and that makes me a little bit anxious. So that's why I opted for this. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
If we're able to start making the awards, who do we send them to? Once
The
we
Sable Scribe is who they get sent to. Right now, that is Shanna Camber, and she lives in Wiesenfear, my Barony. I will get her email address and I will put it on the handout when I post it to the website or to the Facebook event page. I thought it was on the Ansteorran Scribble page, but it is not. So I'm sorry for not being prepared with that. But she collects all of those, and that is also the same person who does the calligraphy of names and signatures for scrolls for the kingdom. So when the crown decides we want to give an award to this person, they let her know, and she has all the charters that have been painted by the wonderful artists across the kingdom. They get sent to her eventually, usually through the regionals, and she will do calligraphy for their name. And then most of the time the crowns don't sign their own names. Some of them do, some of them don't. But most of the time they don't, and the scribe is who will do that as well. And then she will make sure from the collection of, there's a big box of insignia. She'll pull out the insignia and put it in the same envelope as the scroll so that when court happens, the crown has everything they need right there. But I will make sure her email address is there, and there's probably a way that she has people mailing it to her right now due to the world as it is. Ordinarily, I would just be like, I'll introduce you to her at the next event. But right now, that's not really something I can promise. I would really like to be able to, though. So hopefully that'll happen soon. Is there anybody here who was hoping to learn Inkle weaving in this class and I didn't teach that? No? Okay, good. Because I can do that in another class in a couple weeks or something if that was a need that was necessary. However, I do know there was a card weaving class earlier today, which is why I chose to not do that. I don't remember who was going to teach it, though. My favorite thing about insignia weaving, though, is it's a fun way to try out different theories and not have to worry about whether or not you're going to be able to use whatever you're weaving. I learned pickup by doing a personalized Star of Merit for somebody, and I had never done pickup before. And I learned I don't like pickup personally, but I was able to figure it out. For Callantir heraldic colors, they're gold and purple, right? And maybe black or white. Lots of gold and purple. Okay, that's what I thought. I've only been up to Callantir twice. I went to their Valor event twice when they held their first official youth combat tournament for the kingdom at Valor. I was Kingdom Youth Marshal for Ansteorra at the time and brought up a band full of children to make sure their tournament was nice and big and they had a variety of kids to fight, and it wasn't people they had been fighting every week at fighter practice, and that was a lot of fun. But I can't say that I get to go up there very often. Does Callantir use any woven insignia for any of their awards? Okay. Well, weaving and trim is a really nice thing to be able to give out as a gift, especially if you do it in kingdom colors. That means that almost anyone you're giving that largesse to is going to be able to use it in some fashion. They'll be able to display it. It probably will match with their garb. Almost everybody on Ansteorra has something that matches yellow and black or gold and black at some point. Most of their outfits at least don't clash with it because we use so much of it. So I would assume that in Callantir, the same thing happens. People try to at least avoid clashing with the colors that are everywhere. And if they don't put it on their garb, there's lots of other ways to use woven trim that are really useful. When I fought Rapier, there was an issue with the loner masks that. Yes, Sabina?
I was just showing off another use for woven trim.
Oh, okay. I thought you were raising your hand.
Nope.
No. Straps for Viking apron dresses is a really popular use, but we used and embellishment on garb. We used them, or just strips of woven trim for mask ties to tighten the neck of masks because they had gotten loose from use because they were loner gear, and that was actually helping with safety. Besides heraldry, do you weave garb for trim? I have woven it for other people for trim. Personally, I don't wear a whole lot of trim. The garb I prefer doesn't work well with it. So I don't wear a whole lot of my own weaving, which is sometimes a little bit frustrating when I'm trying to show somebody something. I also don't keep a whole lot of my weaving for that reason, which is also a little bit frustrating when I'm trying to show people things. Because most of the stuff that I make, I prefer to do as gifts. And just one moment, I left my yarn drawer open and my cat's in it. All right, this little boy enjoys when I am working with weaving because he likes to chase the strings and chew on stuff. Currently working on combing and spinning up Romney wool for making Inkle or card woven trim. Oh, that's really neat. I have done a little bit of spinning, but never really gotten past getting it spun up, and then I've been told what to do with it next, but I get distracted. I think it's really neat though. I would have to learn how to spin better before I personally tried to weave with it, because the stuff that I've spun I could pull apart with just my hands, let alone the tension of a loom. So for in-kingdom people, if you wanted someone to talk to about doing spinning. I know that Mistress Elsa.
Somebody had mentioned a Windhaven accordion loom. I have one right here if you want to see it.
I apologize. My cat put my laptop into airplane mode when he walked across it, and it totally kicked me out of the meeting and off the
There
internet.
you are.
It took me a minute to figure it out.
There you are. Okay.
Yeah, he's a little mischievous, and it took me a minute to figure out exactly what had happened. Sorry about that.
Would it be okay if I share a picture of what I've been spinning up?
That would be great.
Okay,
I mean,
I had to take a picture quickly here. Let's see if it will come up. There you go. Only the host can share in this meeting. Okay,
okay, sorry.
I can't
Bear with-
share.
Give me just a moment and I can add you to the list of folks
Oh,
who can.
well, thank you very much. That's very kind of you.
Zebeda, while you're doing that, how long do we have for the next class? It starts at 4, right?
It does. We've got about
Okay.
10 minutes. So Gwennon, I just made you one of the
Okay.
co-hosts. And so you should now have the option to share your
Okay,
screen.
just a second. Photo. Where's the photo?
That option is going to be on your toolbar at the bottom of your Zoom panel. It'll be in the center. It'll be bright green. It'll say
Yes,
share
I
screen.
found that. It's just getting the photo to pop up that I just took. Ah, there. Come on. There you go. Those
Oh,
are-
okay. Well, those are really neat colors.
Well, they're kind of bright because they're acid-based dyes. And I wanted to make sure that they would not fade because so many of these beautiful, beautiful natural dyes tend to fade. And after all that hard work to process a fleece and comb the locks and dye the locks and all the stuff, I don't want it to only last for 6 months. I want it to
Mhm.
last for years and years, you know. So
That
Um,
makes sense.
yeah, so acid-based dyes are very easy to work with. They're a powder. You use a teaspoon per pound of fiber. You can use vinegar, which is very safe. I mean, it's pretty easy to work with. You just have to cook it a bit to heat set it onto the fiber. And then I always comb up the fiber to get that wonderful smooth luster of the Romney to show through. And it's turning out pretty well. So I'm happy with it. Oh, I also have a beautiful color called Iris that's sort of a bluey purple, if you want to see that. This one is a blended purple that you see in the center of the picture there. And it's blended with sort of a hot pink together with the iris color to get more of a mulberry tone to it. And then the other one I did, but it's turning out really, really nice. And I could use it for tapestry weaving, but I thought it was best for what it had intended, which was to use as warp. So anyway, I just to share that so folks would understand that it is entirely possible to do this. It's not impossible at all. And the yarn turns out very smooth when you comb it rather than carding it. So it's not going to be near so fuzzy.
Okay.
Combing will produce a beautiful, beautiful type of fiber preparation that is ideal for this. So I will stop sharing now. It's not the Sheila show, so.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's really
Sure.
neat. I've just never personally gotten to that point yet.
Yeah, and like I said, it's a matter of preparation. If you do want some help, I'd be happy to give you some help online or on Zoom and give you some direction if you need some.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. An accordion loom. Would you be willing to show it to me again? Whoever had the
I'm so
accordion
sorry.
loom?
What was?
Yes, that's me, Serena. I have the accordion loom that
Okay.
people were talking about earlier. So
Yes, I was hoping to see that.
So right now I have a finger weave piece because I taught the finger weaving class earlier, but here I'm trying to, but it works
I
for
see.
both card and inkle weaving because
Okay.
big space, workspace between it. And the double-sided helps with the balance with both of them.
I've never tried something that was double-sided like that. Is it difficult to warp because of that?
I think it's fairly easy to warp, and I really like it for card weaving because you can center things better and helps with a better tension, especially if you're doing anything that's wider. It's really good having the double-sided.
That's what I would think the benefit would be wide projects. Thank you, Zubeda. We've got about 5 minutes left. The widest thing I ever tried to weave, I'm a little bit hesitant to tell this story, was 181 cards. It was a guitar strap for a friend, and
Wow.
it was a project I will never do again, which is why I was a little bit hesitant to mention it. But it was for a very special friend, and they wanted the sheet music for the first 5 bars of Sweet Caroline on a guitar strap.
Oh
And
my.
I charted it out, and I patterned it, and I double-faced it, and I counted every single line, and it took about 6 months, and the treble clef alone required it to be 181 cards. I figured out you cannot make a discernible treble clef in less than that if you want it to be across the narrow side of the band. If you wanted to do it vertically, you could do it less. But if you wanted it to be across the narrow side of the band, so that this was the up and down, you have to have 181 cards for a discernible treble clef. And that is one of those things where I will say, I will teach you how to pattern that, and I will teach you to double face weave, but please never ask me to do that again. Before the next class starts, we've only got a few minutes left. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. Thank you all for coming. I really enjoyed this. If you have any questions and you'd like to email me, I'm going to have my email on the handouts. I'm going to put it on the event Facebook page immediately after this class, and you can easily find me on Facebook under the same name I have here. I use my Facebook only for SCA functions, so feel free to contact me there as well. And thank you all.
Muirenn,
Thank you very much.
we just got a question on Facebook.
Okay.
It says your warping patterns look like plain weave, but it mentions card numbers. Could you clarify?
The cards would be all one color. So it would be, each string would be one card.
Okay.
So if we were inkle weaving with these patterns, would that mean that there were 50 individual threads, or does that mean that there's...
Yes, that does mean there's 50 individual threads if you wanted to inkle weave it.
Okay, okay. That's the only thing I've learned how to do so far.
Understandable. That's the first thing I learned how to do as well. And if you look at the patterns, the strings with the black dots over them are heddle strings. So we'll start with a heddled and then unheddled and so on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And the information, will that be in the Facebook, you said?
Yes, I'll put it on the Facebook event page, the link to the handout. It's on Google, so it should be easy for everyone to access.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, you as well.